I'm Major Nichole Ayers. I go by Vapor. I am currently an F-22 instructor pilot in the 90th Fighter Squadron and the Assistant Director of Operations there, and I am now an astronaut candidate. I was born in California with my twin sister, Sydney, and then we moved to Colorado, and that's where I call home, the Springs area, and then also Divide, Colorado. It was awesome growing up there, right next to the mountains, get to do a lot of outdoors activities, and then right next to the Air Force Academy as well. Before selection as a NASA astronaut candidate, I was flying the F-22 operationally in the 90th Fighter Squadron, which is in Elmendorf Air Force Base in Alaska. And then specifically, I was actually at Tyndall Air Force Base at the Weapons System Evaluation Program, testing live missiles and shooting the gun for that program. A NASA astronaut to me is an explorer and a scientist. We're all about exploration and furthering scientific discovery in realms outside of the world. Why do I want to be an astronaut? It's something, since I was little, I've always had an affinity for the sky and for space and the stars, and so I can't even remember how old I was, but it's something I've always wanted to do. It's I set my sights as a very young child on getting here. I made the official decision, I think, in about 4th grade. I had, like I said, an affinity for space and for the sky, and then we actually went to space camp in 4th grade as like a field trip, and that really sealed the deal for me. It's when I decided that's what I was going to set my goal, my life dream to be. Selection process, a little grueling. The application is a significant portion. It took me the whole month to get my resume together and answer all the questions and make sure that everything was put together. And then we went through 2 rounds of interviews, a lot of medical tests, a lot of individual tests, team tests, and then naturally the most important job interview of your life was in June. When I got the phone call, I was actually in the car with my sister. I was on leave, and so I answered the phone call, and Reed, said, "Hey, this is Reed Wiseman calling," and I grabbed my sister's arm, and she knew. It was kind of a twin thing. She knew immediately what was happening. It was kind of a very special moment, and then my niece was in the back seat, so naturally, as soon as we got to my sister's house, she stole my thunder and told my nephews, like, "Auntie's going to be an astronaut," and that was probably the best way I could imagine it happening. With my family right there. Who inspires me? Well, I've had a lot of mentors throughout my career who have always encouraged me and inspired me. But I think now it's more my husband. He's a software engineer who has always been super motivated in his job, and he's building his own business now. And he makes me feel like a lazy human, so it's always been motivating to watch him, and he's actually my biggest supporter. And now we get to share in supporting each other in our career destinations. So one of my most memorable moments as a young child in school was actually in 2nd grade. I had this teacher, Miss Guerreri, who really encouraged me to do math, and you do like the 100 times tables in a minute, and I was so excited and so motivated to do that. That really sticks in my mind as like the moment when math became important in my life. I think the astronaut candidate training is going to be intense. It's a 2-year program, but I'm excited to start learning new things. That's kind of been the story of my career. I've been in training for half of my career, and so this is going to be no different. It's just probably the most important training I'll ever go through in my life. Right now, I think the most exciting thing is the fact that we're trying to go back to the moon en route to Mars, and we're going to put people on the moon for exploration and scientific discovery, and I think that is one of the most exciting things. And then also on the private side, all of the new vehicles and all of the competition now for the vehicles to get us there. I think it's exciting that NASA has such a great partnership with the private companies. The first time, I think it'll be the view. I've heard astronauts talk about the view of the Earth from space so many times, and I think that's going to be the most awe-inspiring view I've ever seen. I think the best advice I've gotten so far is take it one day at a time. Take it slow. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And so, even in training, just one day at a time, you're always going to be ahead or behind the timeline, and just working hard every day is going to get you through it. My dream destination in space would probably be Mars. As a little kid, I said I wanted to be the first person on Mars, and so that has not changed, I think, in 30 some odd years. So. Outside of work, I really enjoy the outdoors. So growing up in Colorado, a lot of camping, a lot of hiking. In Virginia, my husband and I got into sailing as well, so we're definitely the outdoorsy type people. Oh boy, least extraordinary thing I do. I mean, we're all human, right? So I get up every day and do the same routine, eat breakfast, go to work. In general, I fly a few times a week, but I also have a ton of ground duties in the Air Force. And so, it's not a glamorous job when you're sitting at the desk, supervising the operations for the day, or you're up in the tower, or, you're doing just the standard admin things and writing performance reports on other people. So we're normal people who have normal jobs. I have a couple cats at home, or standard crazy cat lady. Probably shouldn't put that one in there, but yeah, we're just standard people who live in a normal house and enjoy biking together and going outdoors and hiking and things. So my call sign is Vapor, and for the fighter pilot community, it's important to be named as a fighter pilot. It's part of our tradition. It also has a long history in our community. And normally in the Air Force, it's a name that's pretty cool, but it's a semi-embarrassing story, and that's just part of the tradition. So as a young wingman in the F-22, I was going out to fly, and I learned a very important lesson about the environmental control system in the F-22 on humid days. Turns out it can provide some steam or vapor, if you will, in the cockpit from back behind the seat. And I had a young crew chief who didn't know that. I didn't know that. So between the two of us, we thought it could potentially be smoke. So I had a very it's an internal struggle trying to figure out if I should egress the airplane or continue, and I knew I was going to get named if I messed this up. And so naturally, I did the conservative thing, shut down, and got out of the airplane when, in fact, it was not smoke. It was not a fire at all. So they named me Vapor for that. First thing when I get to space is probably look out the window. Like I said, the view, I can't wait to see the Earth from a different perspective. All right, so my favorite study tip for kids is don't cram it all into the last minute. I know that's tough to do, but as what I found worked for me going through all the way from elementary school all the way into grad school was to spread out my study habits. So that way I had already reviewed things for several weeks before I get into the finals, because cramming never really worked for me. So that's my biggest study tip for most kids. So as a child, STEM was always kind of my favorite subject. I was always a fan of math, I guess. So as a young kid, I loved math. Growing up, I played an instrument. I think that also helped with the math side of things. And then I was naturally better at math than I was at literature. And so just growing up, that's what I enjoyed. I was good at it. And I don't have a great answer for why, but I've always loved the math and engineering side of the house. Sure. So one of the things in school that I always got, I was pretty open about wanting to be an astronaut as a child, and people will always be realists with you, and they'll always tell you that it's not possible, you should find a different goal. But one thing I will say is set your goals, go after your dream, and then just continue to work hard and be a team player. Those are my two biggest things that I tell people is work hard and be a team player, and everything else will fall into place. And naturally, that actually happened for me. So don't believe it when people say you can't achieve your dream. Just set your goals and keep moving. Oh man, how did I get interested in math? I've always loved math from when I was young. I really enjoyed, in the first and second grade, learning how to do multiplication and division and, orders of operations, and all of those things really sparked an interest for me. I have a very math or logical brain, and so I enjoyed it from a small child. It's important to see women in STEM, I think, just because it's socially not necessarily something that we always talk about, and it's okay to be good at math. It's okay to be a nerd, I think, and I've fully embraced that in my life. But sometimes that can be tough because, there are certain expectations of where you're going to go and what you're going to do. And I think socially we're moving away from that as a community, but it's still important to see it. Yeah, so being one of the first few women in the Raptor community, there are about 5 of us who have gone through the F-22B course. So we call them Raptor babies, if you will. It's pretty incredible. It's a small group of women, but it's a pretty close-knit group of women. Not to say that we're the only ones, though. There are a ton of women fighter pilots who have paved the way and made it easy for us to go through the B course and be welcomed into squadrons. I always brag about I gain about 20 brothers in every squadron that I go to. It's an amazing community to be in. And then I've had some unique opportunities. In our deployment in 2019, I got to lead the first ever all-woman combat sortie or combat formation in Syria, which was a pretty neat experience. Nobody really talked about it. We all just kind of let it happen because there were 2 of us in the squadron and we were scheduled together. Coincidentally, it was not planned, and it turned out to be a pretty amazing sortie, capping over Syria with another Chica in the F-22, and it was just us 2 there as the lane commanders over Syria.